The night everything changed didn't arrive with screaming or shattered glass or some dramatic confrontation. It slipped in quietly the way the worst moments in life usually do. I was lying in bed, scrolling aimlessly, waiting for my husband's usual goodnight call. His name was Evan, at least that's the name I married, and he traveled constantly for work. Or so I believed. Every night, no matter where he was, he called before going to sleep. Same rhythm, same words, same comforting routine that made me feel secure, like even distance couldn't touch us. That night was no different. He called, told me he was exhausted, said the meetings had been brutal, told me he loved me. I said it back, half smiling into the darkness. The call ended, or at least I thought it did. I placed my phone on the nightstand, rolled onto my side, and closed my eyes. Then something tugged at me. I glanced back at the phone. The screen was still glowing. The call timer was still running. For a second, I honestly thought my phone was glitching. I reached for it to hang up properly, and that's when I heard her laugh. It wasn't loud or forced. It was soft, relaxed, intimate. The kind of laugh someone makes when they feel completely safe. My hand froze. Then she spoke, casual, amused, like she owned the space. I swear I thought she'd never stop talking. And Evan laughed. That laugh. The one I used to think meant warmth, comfort, love. He said my name like it was a habit he was tired of. She's big on routines. You know how she is. In that moment, my heart didn't break. It tightened, like someone had wrapped a hand around it and started squeezing slowly. I sat up on the edge of our bed, the bed we picked out together, the bed where we'd whispered about the future, and I listened. I listened to my husband talk about me like I wasn't a real person, like I was furniture, a responsibility, an obstacle. She asked him how much longer he planned to keep pretending. He sighed, irritated, like the question itself annoyed him. Not much longer. She's comfortable. Dependent. She won't go anywhere. He said I didn't work anymore. That I didn't really have my own life. He said it like a statement of fact, not cruelty, which somehow cut deeper. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to press a pillow against my stomach to keep myself silent. I felt sick, dizzy, unreal. Some instinct kicked in, the kind you don't consciously choose. I didn't hang up. I hit record. She asked about the prenup. He laughed and said it was solid that I'd signed it without really reading it because I trusted him. He said I'd get enough to survive nothing that would slow him down. And he joked about how easy it had been. Then he said something that burned itself into my memory. He said, I feel bad sometimes. She really loves me in that plain, predictable way. He called me boring. Said I scheduled everything. Said I probably planned intimacy like a meeting on a calendar. She laughed and said, poor thing stuck with a wife who actually wants a life. They talked about trips I thought were work conferences, hotels I'd never seen, beaches I'd never walked on, lies layered so casually it was terrifying. And then he told her he loved her. When the call finally disconnected, the room felt hollow. I stared at my phone. 15 minutes. 15 minutes erased years of marriage. I cried quietly, the kind of crying that feels like it's happening somewhere deep inside your chest, not on your face. And then something shifted. The sadness didn't disappear, but it hardened into clarity. Evan thought I was weak. He thought I was small. He thought I'd accept whatever ending he chose for me. That was his mistake. By morning, I had backed up the recording everywhere. Cloud storage email drafts, places I didn't even know I'd think of before that night. I replied to his texts like nothing had happened. I smiled when he came home. I wore the dress he liked. I played the role he believed I'd never escape because while he thought he was in control, I was already stepping out of his shadow. Over the next few weeks, I moved carefully, quietly. I started paying attention to things I'd ignored before. Bank statements. Mail he assumed I wouldn't open. Files tucked away in the home office. Accounts under names that weren't his. Properties I'd never heard of. The deeper I looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't a midlife crisis. This was a strategy. He'd been planning his exit for years, building a life that didn't include me while using my silence and trust as cover. When I finally sat across from a lawyer and played her the recording, she didn't gasp. She didn't pity me. She nodded and said, "This changes everything." We didn't rush. We waited. I cooked dinners. I listened to Evan complain about work. I laughed at jokes that made my skin crawl. I lay next to him at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying his words in my head, reminding myself why I was doing this. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, pretending nothing was wrong while slowly pulling apart the illusion he lived in. Then came the moment he never saw coming. I served him divorce papers at a company event surrounded by people who admired him, trusted him, believed his image. I leaned in and said quietly, "I know about her. I know about the accounts. I know what you planned." His face went pale. He laughed first like this was all a misunderstanding. Then he threatened me, told me I'd regret it. Then he begged, said we could fix things. Then he snapped and said I'd be nothing without him. I looked him in the eye and said, "You already showed me who you are." After that, everything unraveled. The prenup was challenged. The hidden money surfaced. Questions started coming from places he couldn't control. The man who thought I was invisible suddenly couldn't escape being seen. The settlement gave me financial stability, yes, but that wasn't the real victory. The real victory was watching him realize I wasn't who he thought I was. Today, my life looks nothing like the one I thought I was building back then. I work again. I make my own decisions. I sleep without knots in my stomach. I'm not angry all the time anymore. Sometimes I think about that night and how close I came to never knowing the truth, and I wonder how many people are still living inside lies because they're afraid to listen. So, here's what I want to ask you. If you overheard something like that, if the person you trusted most showed you who they really were, would you walk away quietly, or would you fight back and make sure the truth came out? Was what I did justice, or did I go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear where you stand.